Yo, what is happening? Welcome to Couchdoodles Live. We are, in effect, waiting for our guest to come on. We've got Peter Simeti coming on. Just waiting for him to get in and click that link. Hopefully you guys are having a wonderful evening. It's Thursday. What's really great is a lot of the He-Man reviews are in, and people are enjoying them, which is a good thing that people are enjoying He-Man. I've got another issue coming out next month that I'm very excited about. And as you can tell, we are going to be in space. What's going on with you guys this fine Thursday evening? What's up, Comic Vantage? Chris Arnecki, how are you, sir? What's up, Dark Admiral? You got your Skeletor book today. Did you get a chance to flip through it yet? I sure hope you did. It will be a fun read for you. What's up, Rooster Puncher? How are you, sir? Just waiting for Peter to get in here so we can get our guest up and rolling. I even have a fine graphic. Look at that. Alternate Comics. I can even turn it into an overlay if I really want to. Let me see if I can. Let's make it an overlay. Text and graphics. And logos and corner bugs. I'll go in here and do it just like this. I'm going to scale it up and make it just huge like this. Done. Check this out. Alterna Comics. Bam. This is how we do. Just waiting for Peter to come in. I don't know where he is. I sent him the link, so let me see if he's seen and received it, because that's the best way to find out, is to check and see. Hopefully it is up and working. Let me check it out. No, not yet. Hopefully all is well with him. Night mode, yo. Both covers. That's good, Dark Admiral. I'm glad you got both covers. They're both a lot of fun. Let's go over to our alt angle. This is what makes this one different than StreamYard, is I get to say hello to you from this whole other section. Look at that. I gotta hide that light though. See, do that, and you can't see it, but it's illuminating. Isn't that cool? My boy ordered a copy of your book. Good. I'm glad. I'm glad that you are getting Rooster Puncher's book, because it's fantastic. Anyhow, still waiting on Mr. Simeti. There he is. There he is. Let's bring him in right now. Let me click this out. Can you hear me okay, Peter?
Hey, how's it going?
It's going well, man. I'm going to bring you in right now. There we are. Actually, I'm going to switch these around. How did that get there? Let's go solo here, and then do A here and B there. There we are. How you doing this fine evening, sir?
I'm doing all right.
Good. We got some people in the room. I want them to know about you. Check that out. The graphic you gave me, I'm going to be able to overlay it over, I don't know if you can see it, but it's over our faces. Alterna Comics.
Looks good.
So tell the people about Alterna Comics and why they should check you out.
Well, for those that don't know about Alterna, actually, let me show you some of the books.
Yeah,
We've got. I know you showed Voidwalker before, but here's Voidwalker, Psycho KO. We do a lot of newsprint comics.
Brings me back to my youth.
Yeah,
I love newsprint.
and they're priced pretty affordably because of the newsprint. Average price $1.50. All kinds of different genres: hero, superhero stuff, horror, fantasy, sci-fi, every kind of genre you can think of. I think we've put out close to 30 different series at this point, but we've been around for 14 years. The first 10 of which we mostly just did graphic novel production and digital comics and stuff like that. And we still do graphic novels and digital comics, but mostly nowadays it's concentrating on the single issues.
Now, how can someone find your books? Let's say their local comic store isn't picking it up. Obviously, they need to tell them to pick it up. But let's say their store is reluctant, or let's say the awful thing happens where they have to get their stuff some other way because they don't have a store. Is there a way for them to order your book online?
Yeah, they can get stuff direct from us. Go to alternaaccess.com. And
Alternaaccess.com.
That's our official site store.
Awesome. Yeah. Rooster Puncher, maybe if you could put it up in the chat room, people could check it out. Rooster Puncher put, "Is that you, God?" That's great. So let's rewind. I want to know about you. How did you get into comics? What was your first comic that you got that made you say, "Hey, this is the thing for me"?
You know what? I actually have it still. I still have my first comic. Let me go get that. Let's see.
You have it ready already. I didn't even have mine ready. When you asked me, I was like, it's a Batman, and I think it. I didn't even know the number.
I still have mine. I showed it the other day, maybe 2 months ago at this point. The other day, it's all relative. So this is my first comic that I ever got. I still have it, and it's a Spectacular Spider-Man 138. It is read to shreds. And I also did some of my own coloring work on it. This is a book I got when I was around, I'd say, either 3 or 4 years old, something like that. As you can see, I thought Spidey's eyes should be blue.
You need to give him some shades.
I colored in the corner box there, and everybody's face is blue.
Yeah.
So this has some of the.
Were you a Smurfs fan?
I don't know. This is some of the earliest Peter Simeti coloring work, though. But as you can see, this poor guy has been read to shreds because the cover no longer connects. But what's really funny about this is, and of course, it has a lot of sentimental value, so I still keep it, even though obviously it is what it is. Now, I had ticked off a bunch of these. I'm still waiting, Marvel. Where's my subscription? It looks like I wanted Captain America, Daredevil, Fantastic Four, Incredible Hulk, Iron Man. Some good choices for
solid
a kid that age.
What year did that come out? What does the indicia say?
Let's see. This one's 88.
All right.
Yeah, this one came out 88.
That's a good year. That's a good year. I'm gonna check the chat room. We call it the Frega Boombox. We're gonna take a look and see what's going on. Let's see. We got Kevlar in the house. We got Simeon7. Welcome, Simeon7. You're new. It's good to see you. Love Blood Realm and Scrimshaw.
Good picks.
I'll be good. Just getting through the worst of it. March. Hello, dudes. No notification, says Matt Cisco. Matt Cisco, I got your Instagram message, by the way, so your button is going out probably tomorrow. And Marvel, I'd also like Batman, please, says Rooster Puncher. So I was on your 15 Minutes of Fame yesterday, and you had a set of questions for me. And now we are just going to come back and give you some questions. You're going to be in the hot seat. There is no Timmy timer, none of that. No,
well, he's over here. He's over here, but I'm not gonna. He's off the clock.
Right. All right, I'm gonna jump right in. Do you have a routine, like a daily creative routine for your work? And if so, what is it?
Every single day is so different. Mostly, I try to get through packing orders and things like that, usually around nighttime. But during the day, I try to prep files. I try to answer emails as much as I can. But every single day, there's all kinds of fires to put out. New stuff that happens all the time, whether it's distribution, something happens with a creator, something is happening with right now with the printer situation. It's
Yeah.
frustrating. So there's all kinds of stuff all the time that you have to push stuff aside and rearrange and prioritize and constantly reprioritize. So it gets a little bit crazy sometime, but it's hard to maintain a set schedule. If you're in this kind of position where there's a million things coming at you different every single day, um, maintaining a set schedule is going to drive you a little bit nuts because you're going
Yeah.
to feel like you're just running in place and you're never getting something done, even though you're getting a lot of things done. So you have to make sure to sort out a certain time for certain things and
Yeah.
allow a lot of time for the fact that there's going to be something new every single day to tackle.
Do you find that doing all the administrative work gets in the way of creating?
Oh, totally. Yeah, people ask me all the time, why don't you, make more books? You ever want to, do more or whatever? And the best thing, um, the best thing that can happen to you when you're a creative person and you want to start being a publisher is that your publishing doesn't really do well. So you can go be a creative person still.
Right.
Because the worst thing is this is it's when it takes off and then you can't just go, okay, well, I want to do all my own stuff because now you have all these other responsibilities. You have other people's books to worry about, and their stuff has to come before your stuff. So I've
Right.
made books before, and I know how to do a whole bunch of different things over the years. I've learned every aspect of comic making that there is, in order to help out too. Whenever someone needs something quickly done, whether it's I do a lot of the graphic design stuff too at Altern. I do a lot of the cover layout. I do a lot of the logos for Alterna
Yeah.
books. Whether it's inking, lettering, touching up something digitally, pre-press, all that kind of stuff. It helps to know as much as you possibly can. I always stress to everybody, learn as much as you can about all the facets. This way you can kind of be Johnny on the spot and help out
Sure.
because stuff is going to come up. And, maybe you can't get in touch with the person who did X, Y, or Z on your book. And if you know how to do at least, some of it fairly well, you'll be able to kind of just make a little touch up here and there and be in a better position when an emergency happens.
Do you enjoy the administration part, or is it something that you wish you could delegate?
I kind of like it.
Yeah.
I like the creative part as well. I like doing quick drawings. I do like little 5-minute sketch card things all the time, but uh, I've always been the guy who kind of like I've played hockey my whole life, and I've always been
Yeah.
the guy who'd rather set up the play than score the goal.
I see.
I have a lot of happiness for other people's success. It brings me a lot of joy to see other people succeed and do well, and know that I was a small part of it. Um,
Yeah.
so I like that part of it, and I like the administration part of it, where I'm talking to distribution or printers or whatever else. To me, that's just it is what it is. Someone's got to do it. It's
Sure.
I don't necessarily wake up and go, oh man, I love it. I want to just talk to Diamond today or talk to a
Right.
bunch of printers today. But I do love when things work out. A
Sure.
lot like Hannibal on the A Team. I love when a plan comes together, and
That's great.
it's
Hopefully people will get that reference. I mean, I know people our age will get it, but sometimes you say A Team. My kids will go, what? Huh? It's weird. It's weird saying things to my kids and they go, I don't know what that is.
well,
Britney
now
Spears
it's
was
like
on the
we
radio.
sit you down,
You
and now
know,
you're going to watch the whole season of A Team, and you'll understand.
they
But
would and they would
it's
ask,
stuff like that.
why can't
Yeah.
they hit the broadside of a van with a machine gun? I thought they were an elite special team and they can't hit anything. Uh, I'm going to hop into the next question. What do you do when you don't know what to do?
What do I do when I don't know what to do? I make sure to find someone that does. So I ask. You got to make sure that's a part too that I think a lot of people kind of overlook, is the value in asking others for help too. Don't be afraid. So many people are afraid because it shows to them, it shows weakness, it shows a lack of assuredness. But
for some people, but I'm one of those guys that I'll throw in the towel when I need to.
Yeah, and it definitely, when you need help with something, ask. It's kind of just that's what you should do. But otherwise, all you're gonna do is kind of just spin your wheels, and it's just, you're not gonna go anywhere with it. And what's the point of that? You might as well just ask someone else, ask for advice, ask for some help, and then you can get things going again, as opposed to the whole thing of, well, my pride's too big to ask for help. I'm just gonna kind of pretend like I know what I'm doing. You're better off asking.
Yeah, you fall into a hole, your pride will get you sucked down, and then you got nothing. Now, if you could trade the lives with any living or dead person for one day, who would it be and why?
Boy, if I could do that, man. Boy, oh boy. Man, oh man. That's a tough question.
Yeah.
I think it would probably be probably my grandmother, who's no longer with us. She went through a lot back when I'm half Italian and half Chinese. And my Chinese grandmother, especially, she went through a hell of a lot, to the point that whenever I'm going through something difficult, I always remember all the stories that she used to say about how when she grew up, and she would never complain. It would just be kind of like sprinkling in some stories here and there, and she couldn't speak English, so I would get it translated through my mother. And just the stuff that she had gone through as a child, and later on even as an adult, through the transition period between moving from China to eventually Trinidad is where they moved, and then up to the U.S. A lot of different things that she sacrificed, suffered through during the Japanese invasion during World War II. So just that, I know obviously who wants to go back and trade places with someone who suffered, and you think that, but to give the perspective, because she was so strong, and then she was always so kind and so hardworking. And for someone who went through such horrible things, whenever I'm going through something extremely difficult, I just think, you know what, just give me a little bit of the strength that she had when she went through some of her hard times, and just, suck it up, because I can't even imagine dealing with the stuff that she went through.
Yeah, so a great generation. Now, if you could give your younger self a one piece of advice, what would it be?
I guess and eventually I learned this, but definitely my younger self, don't be afraid of rejection. No is just a yes in another way. It steers you down the path you're supposed to go down, as opposed to, people think no means, well, now I'm a failure. Now I got to throw in the towel. I got to stop. And maybe it means you have to stop doing that specific thing sometime. But it doesn't necessarily mean, you should just give up. You should just call it a day. You should just never do something again. If you get a rejection, the worst thing that can happen, and I learned this later on, especially, so you try for a job, you try to get somebody. When I was casting for The Chair, asking actors and actresses and everybody that I could think of, if they wanted to be a part, if they wanted to read the script. And I was like, what's the worst they could say? No, or nothing. Or they could say nothing too.
Right.
So yeah, letting the word no not define who you are, and just using it as a way to steer around your problems, as opposed to making no become the problem.
That's excellent. We're gonna cut a box and see what's happening over there. It says YouTube is a mess as always. Says Rooster Puncher. He said that 9 minutes ago. Hopefully our stream is going good. There's no complaints about the stream yet. Leg kick asks, Peter, if you could take a group of writers and artists from the past to create comics for you, who would you want it to be? Like, I guess he's asking. Let's say let's take it because I could go infinitely, but let's just say three dream teams, 3 books, artist, writer.
Oh boy. Wow. Okay.
Or just one, just one if you want.
Wow. Well, some of them have already happened. Some of them have already happened. I love the teaming of Claremont and Byrne. To me, that was just a match made in heaven with the X-Men. Claremont and Jim Lee as well. Claremont in general, one of my favorite writers of all time. I love Art Adams as an artist as well. One of my absolutely.
That's my jam, dude. That's my jam.
Oh, absolutely. It'd be interesting to see. I wonder if, and I'm not going to try to overthink it by thinking about personalities possibly not clashing or clashing. So I'll say it'd be interesting to see Claremont with McFarlane. That would be interesting to see a team.
That's super interesting.
Yeah. Maybe let's see who else. I'm trying to think of someone I could pair with Art Adams, especially. Maybe JMS.
That's a great one.
I love his writing as well.
That's a great one. Yeah, I really enjoyed his Spider-Man stuff.
Yeah.
That's great. That is great. Claremont made me an X-Men fan back in the day. Claremont and Cockrum, says Matt Yackey.
Oh, Cockrum was great. Oh, man.
Yeah. Matt Yackey's in the house. Matt Yackey is Cool Guy Supreme. I've known him for 20 years. He is the colorist of He-Man, Master of the Multiverse. He also colored Gear Station. He will be coloring Black Flag. He is more than a colorist. He's one of my best friends in the whole world. So he's in the house. Jumping on the next question. What are you most self-conscious about?
Most self-conscious about? You mean like?
Yes, sir.
Could
be anything. Like for me, it had ebbs and flows. Like when I was a kid, it would be whether or not I was a nerd to people. I know I was. Later, I was losing my hair. That sort of thing.
You look good though. You got a good head for it.
Yeah, it's a good head. It's a good head. It took some time to realize that, but I don't have one of those like wacky sort of screwed up potatoes. The buds and things and the knit. All the little nooks and crannies and stuff.
Yeah, no, you got a good head for it. You're someone you could have just shaved your head and it would have been fine the whole time.
Yeah, well, that's what I do now.
But as far as something I'm most self-conscious about, I wonder. Boy, I think it's making sure, I guess, that I'm not hurting someone else sometimes, I guess, with what I'm doing or what I'm saying. I try to be self-conscious about that, watching what I do, what I say. And when I feel sometimes I've let people down, it eats me up.
Strong sense of empathy. What is the most childish or childlike thing that you still do? And I know we make comics, so go to, but
I think
do you play with your food? Do you any weird stuff like that?
I did something the other day, and I was like, I've been doing this since I was like 5. What the heck was it? I had the thought of it, and I was like, why do I still do this? I think probably, let's see. I guess the most, off the top of my head, definitely the most, is that whenever I see a dog, a cat, I just go into just talking like it's a little baby and being like a little dumb baby voice,
Yeah.
Like, hey, little guy, how's it going? That kind of thing.
The thing I'm guilty of regarding animals is totally disregard the person connected to the animal. Like I'll see a person walking their dog. I don't even say hi to that person. I'm like, hey, little man, how are you? And this person's just kind of watching it happen to their dog.
They always look
Like,
so pissed too. I've only had maybe once or twice in my whole life where they actually look very understanding. But I'm like, shouldn't you be shouldn't you realize
right.
that this is what's going to happen?
Don't you see that your dog is awesome?
Yeah.
Now, would you rather live in the country, suburb, or city if you had your own preference?
I'd probably rather live in the country.
Yeah.
I'm all about the quiet. I seem to be going that way in my life. I grew up in New York. I was born in Brooklyn, grew up in the suburbs of Long Island, and then I went to the suburbs of Massachusetts, and now it's kind of a mix between
Yeah.
rural-ish and suburbs of New Hampshire. And
Yeah.
I would love to get even more rural if I possibly could. I think the only thing that would make it kind of annoying would be going for groceries or anything like that, or like a good slice of pizza or whatever. But other than that,
Yeah.
if it's a half hour away or whatever, I wouldn't
Get
mind
some
living.
deep freezers. Get some deep
Yeah,
freezers.
I wouldn't mind.
My
I like the
old
quiet and this serenity of nature. I like that.
I do too. My ex father-in-law had a nice ranch about a good hour from stuff, and they would just go to Costco and be like, "This is it for 2 weeks," and deal with it that way.
Yeah,
Uh,
yeah.
yeah, I'm with you on that. Now, if you could learn a new skill instantly, it could be you had a similar question. It could be a superpower, like realistic, like being able to understand any language, that sort of thing. But if you any new skill instantly,
Now, this is a little bit of a tangent, but when I was a kid, I could have swore that I had the superpower to change traffic lights whenever I wanted. And this is how ridiculous this is. I'd be in the car when I'm a kid, and I'm like, green. And it would go green. And it happened like 10 different times. And I convinced myself, even though it wouldn't work most of the time, but if I said it long enough, it would change. So I was never wrong, but I
yeah.
wasn't controlling them. But I felt like I was when I
See,
was a kid.
that's that. I used to think too that like I have superpowers, but if I say anything about it to anybody, they won't work. So it's entirely a private thing. It's like being able to change those lights, but the second you say, "Hey mom, hey dad, watch me change those lights," you look like an ass.
Yeah. Yeah.
You know.
Exactly. Yeah. But
So what would you want your skill to be? Would it be?
now,
We had somebody say kung fu one day. They wanted the kung fu.
hmm.
Mine would be time travel. I would love time travel.
I would love flight, which is really weird for me to say because I have a crazy fear of heights. But I think if I could fly, I don't think I'd feel so bad about it.
If you could fly,
Yeah.
yeah, yeah. How do
I
you imagine yourself flying? Because when I was a kid and I'd have flying dreams, uh, it was a lot like Crouching Tiger and Hidden Dragon. I wasn't like a
mm,
up and away, take off. It would be I'd have to back up, kind of jump up, and almost like in a swimming pool, like in the deep end of a swimming pool, kind of hop up, kick my legs off of something, and that would propel me. So it was very realistic flying. It wasn't like
yeah,
propulsion.
I've had really weird flying dreams, especially when I was a kid. There was one when I was flying. I could see in a neighbor's pool, like their backyard. I could
Yeah.
see like all the little areas, and I never had been to
Was
these
this like
people's houses. Like
was
an
this like a Fast Times at Ridgemont High situation,
No, this
or
was this was me sleeping. I was like 8 years old, and it gets weirder
yeah,
because I didn't know. I've never been to this person's house. I had no idea. They were kind of down the block a bit, and in the dream, I'm flying
yeah,
above the neighborhood, and it's the neighborhood. I recognize it, and eventually, I become friends with this person. And what do they
yeah,
have in their backyard? They have a pool. I had
yeah.
never seen it
So you were
before.
astrally projecting
I
then,
kind of
really?
astral projected. Yeah. Like that it wigged
Yeah,
me out so bad. But I've had flying dreams like that where I'm like going around and it's strange because I'm seeing things that are there that I don't know how on earth I could possibly know that they're there. But then I find out later on, even
yeah,
I looked it up one time in the second house that we lived in when I was growing up, and I had another dream like that. And years later, when they had Google Maps and you can kind of see everybody's stuff, which is strange, but I was like, you know what? I wonder if does that house have a garage here and a pool there and this kind of setup here? And I would look at my old neighborhood on Google Maps and I'd see that, oh my God, they did. But I wouldn't even know that.
Yeah.
I don't know how I would know that when I had that dream. So it's really weird that would occur.
It's like a cross between astral projection and remote viewing.
Yeah.
Like, you're leaving your body. I'm going to go over to the Frega Boom box again and see what kind of activities going on. They were talking about some of their answers for the writer artist team up. Let's see, Frazetta on Thor. That would be great. There's a Wrightson Ghost Rider pencil piece. Good evening, Fragaboom and chat. That's from Mr. W. Hello, sir. If you have flight, then you need invincibility, or landing would suck. Yes, that is true. Matt Yackey had those same kind of flight dreams, he said. You don't want to hit a bird in midair when you're flying. That's very true.
Yes, absolutely.
Or not being able to slow down. Those are all really good points. Let's see here. Where are we at? What out of Earth, Wind, Fire, and Water, or a nation of them, what you the most?
Probably water, which is strange too, because my sign is I'm a Cancer, so water is kind of like
that's the crab
element. Yeah, the crab. Yeah, I'm a July 4th fire.
Oh, you're like you. Wait, you're born on.
Yep.
So is my younger brother. That's awesome.
Oh, no way.
Yeah, I remember. Yeah, I remember him being born. It was and seeing be born. It was crazy.
No way. Yeah. I was born on July 4th,
you?
84, on a Wednesday. So I was born on a new comic book day.
That's awesome. New comics, exploding skies. That's great. Now, if money wasn't a factor, and I always kind of fill this question out because when I used to ask some people, they go, "You mean I'm filthy rich?" I don't mean filthy rich. I mean, if money wasn't a factor in your life, like your house was paid for, you had no debts, your fridge was filled, your health was great, you have no worries other than to wake up and just, how would you spend your day?
I think I would spend my day a mix between drawing and playing hockey.
That's awesome.
I've loved playing hockey my whole life, and it's a shame because I haven't had much of a chance to play over the past 2 years. I used to play every single week, once or twice a week in a league and things like that. But it just between drawing and playing that sport in particular, it was just a sense of freedom and kind of takes my mind right out of it. Like I get into a state, especially with drawing too, where it's almost like you hit something where you lose track of where you are, what's going on. You're just all about drawing and what's in front, what's in your mind, getting it down on there. And it's very relaxing. And I get in that same kind of state when I'm playing hockey as well. It's very objective driven. You don't think, you have to just do, because it's such a fast paced game. The more you think, the worse it is.
Yeah.
So you just go with it. It's all instinctual.
I have to ask because I'm from California. Are you talking ice or are you talking street?
I've played both in my life
when it comes to hockey.
But for the sake of realistic insurances, I do roller now.
Yeah.
But I've done both.
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay. Excellent. Just yourself.
It's one word. Tenacious.
That's a great answer. What initially sparked your interest in creating comics and with comic books?
Comics have always meant a lot to me. The idea of being able to tell a story, obviously in a comic, hit me later on. But at first, comics, they communicated something to me right away visually, and then obviously later on with with the story and the writing. But I love the fact that, especially in superhero books, you would have these people going through incredibly difficult things, sometimes insurmountable is what it would seem like, but the courage and the sacrifice and the bravery in the face of those things always gave me a bit of hope and inspiration in the tough times I was going through, and especially being a kid going through bullying and things like that. And especially reading the X-Men, it always made me feel a sense of cathartic justice. That there's a good out there. And obviously I knew the X-Men weren't real, but their characteristics and the things they went through, and the fact that they fought these evils without necessarily becoming what they hated. And they could draw a line and a distinction between, you do these things, you fight hard, you don't give up, but you don't fight and become a villain. You don't do the nasty things that they do to win the day. You fight the right way, and then you win in the end. And it's a clean victory, as opposed to one where you lose a bit of your soul in a way if you fight the wrong way to win.
Was that your go-to? Was the X-Men?
For the most part, yeah, X-Men and Spider-Man. And Spider-Man in particular too, because of his sense of guilt, but it more was a sense of duty, I think, that he felt. And it wasn't necessarily
responsibility.
The responsibility of it. It wasn't always this guilt-driven thing. I think a lot of people, I think, maybe misconstrue. He learns a very difficult lesson, but the rest of his life isn't driven just solely with being, brooding and guilt-driven and all that. That's
Batman.
That's very Batman. Yeah. Peter Parker always struck me more as a sense of responsibility and a sense of, what, I can do something and I should do something, because it honors the memory of those who he loves so much, and perhaps they're no longer there with him, which would be his Uncle Ben. So Spider-Man was always an inspiring character to me because of that, and it always stuck with me about that sense of personal responsibility.
Yeah, that's a very good answer. Let's see. Let's go into the boombox here. Hitting on a bird, not unless you slow down first. Let's see. I would be Captain Planet. He's going to take pollution down to 0. What up, Dan? What, Luke? How are you, sir? Let's see. A bunch of greetings. That's good. I really the gang that hangs out in the Frago Dudes, it's spelled DOODZ, and their camaraderie is just excellent. I wish one day, I think it'll happen one day, where we just have sort of like a hangout in person where we all throw and, eat good food and talk shit and maybe fight. It reminds me of a joke. Do you know Randy House?
Do
you know Randy House at all?
That sounds like a very familiar name.
He's New Hampshire, and he throws shows, and like the show that.
Oh yeah. He was doing that show that you were at.
Yeah.
Right.
He told me this joke one time. It's one of my favorite jokes. And I guess you can use any place that you don't like, So if you're from a Mainer, they say the Mainer, So the joke goes like this: Mainer comes up to a New Hampshire man and says, "Hey man, you want to go to a party?" And he says, "What happened?" He said, "Well, there's going to be some lot of drinking, and then there'll be some more drinking. Then there'll be some dancing, fight, some sex." And the guy's like, "Man, that sounds crazy. Who's going to be there?" And he says, "Just you and me." And I always laugh at that one because of the string of events. It's like drinking, dancing, drinking, dance. There's some resistance happening, and then some sex. Anyway, I don't even know. I don't even know why I thought of that joke, but it's because Randy in New Hampshire.
Oh
Good
man,
times. Good times. It's do a daily joke.
that's like the
Now,
Twilight
so
Zone of jokes.
what? Say that again.
I said that's like the Twilight Zone of jokes.
It jokes, just you and me. I'm Rod Sir watching the Twilight.
There was time now.
Bad recommend heard in the comic book business.
What was that? I didn't catch the first part.
Well, what are some suggestions that you've heard in the comic book business? Like just bad advice.
Just bad advice.
Yes, sir.
Where do I start? I think make a comic. That's number one. You know what though? There's some truth to it because I see a lot of the time people go, just make a comic, and get it out there to a publisher, and that's kind of bad advice because you want people to just jump right in, but you don't necessarily want people to jump right in having no knowledge of anything, no understanding of how to tell a story, they've never picked up a pencil in their life, let's say, and they're trying to draw their first comic, and now they're just going to go for it, submit something that looks like completely awful. Let's be honest, because that's everyone's first ever thing. When you draw it, it's going to look pretty all over the place, and then you send that into a publisher, and for a lot of people, like what I was talking about earlier with the rejection and the word no, they're going to get really discouraged and they're going to stop. And it doesn't mean it's because you're not going to improve, and you're not going to. Every single artist who's a master was a student, and we all stunk when we first started.
Absolutely right.
So it has nothing to do with
Amen.
that. So yeah, it's just work hard, understand the fundamentals and the basics, learn as much as you can, and just draw your stuff, write your stuff, whatever it is. But also share it with people that are also doing similar things before you go right to the publisher, submitting stories and all this other stuff. So definitely make the thing and learn as much as you can. But this mentality of just do it and get it out there and get it right to a publisher. Be patient with yourself and take the time to really learn and improve, and take it to shows, show it to artists, show it to writers, say, hey, what can I improve here? And be open to criticism. And especially constructive feedback. Take in all that you possibly can. Some of it might not work for you, and that's fine. But you're going to find that a lot of it probably will. A lot of it might even give you a different perspective on your stuff and a different way of doing it that might open your mind to totally different possibilities of how to get that thing done the way you want it to get done. Because I know you can probably see it too. If someone were to bring you a piece, you're like, you really like drawing this and you really hated drawing this. I can see you're struggling with this kind of thing, and this is where you're more comfortable. So, and you can tell that. But some people, when they're doing it, they can't really see that. They can't really get the feel for it, and they might actually go, "Oh yeah, I was frustrated," but when they're drawing it, they just think, "Well, this is just harder to draw than this." Well, no, it's just because you didn't draw this enough. You're not comfortable with it enough, because that other thing that you mastered, that was really difficult for you too at one point. But a lot of people, when you get to that point, you don't really see it. You just think certain things are way more difficult than other things.
Yeah, that's very true. Kim Amir, hopefully I said that right, asks, I'm late. Peter, do you?
Yes, I do. Yes, I do. I do draw.
There you go.
I'll draw something real quick while we're talking. I'll draw just a
awesome
whatever. But yeah, feel free to keep asking me.
Yeah, how has a failure or apparent failure set you up for later success?
You get to learn. At least that's the goal of when you make a mistake anyway, is to learn, to not do that mistake again. But
yeah,
that's definitely what mistakes have always taught me. I try not to make the same ones twice. And when you do have any failure that comes your way with anything, don't let it defeat you. Just accept that, okay, well, failure is a part of this whole process. It's an ability. It gives me the ability to learn.
It's a
it gives me
lesson.
a chance. Yeah, exactly. It's not this. So many people, it's the same thing with rejection. They just see it as the ultimate, like, oh man, I'm no good. They take it so personal. They go, I can't possibly do this. I'll never do this. I'll never be as good. And people always compare themselves too. As soon as they failed, I'll never be as good as so-and-so who's succeeded. But so-and-so who's succeeded failed about 5,000 times. You just don't know it. So,
we don't see all the failures.
Yeah. Don't just take for granted that everyone that you see that's a success is a success. Every single thing that they do, they've failed more times than you can possibly realize.
Things I try to tell people, and it's in my free flow drawing system, and it's the idea of not being married to results. And what I try to say into that is, anytime you see someone who's excellent at something, whether it's a singer, a dancer, an athlete, anybody that does a sort of a public display of their skills, we only see the performance. We don't see the rehearsals. We don't see the missteps. We don't hear the bad notes.
Yep.
At least hopefully
Absolutely.
we don't. But there are probably, for every minute we see, there's probably 100 hours of ugly stuff. You know?
Every time too.
Yeah. What is
it's
one
always,
of the most?
I was going to say, it's always something that's awesome to me when I see the big legendary pros like a McFarlane or a Jim Lee or even a Dan Fraga talking about rejection and hardships and what they've overcome. It's very inspiring to see that. Because it shows there's a path. It's there. It's not always just a straight and narrow. You go right down it and you just keep doing the thing. There's 100 different paths. I've talked about this before, where so many people sometimes become obsessed with trying to open the locked door that they never look at the 1,000 doors to the left and the right and think about even trying to turn one of those knobs. They just think, well, no, this is the way. I've been told this is the way, and this is the way I got to do it. But there's all these other ways. Test them out. You never know.
It gets tough, man. I have a saying. It's hard to see the label when you're in the jar, and sometimes people are so in the jar. What did a friend of mine said? This is back almost 20 years ago. I was going through, and Murray, he drew back in the day. He said, when things aren't turning left, any little saying, but we get into these sort of ruts of going around and round, and sometimes we just need to pull out of it,
Yep, absolutely.
Now, one of the best or most worthwhile investments you've made is a physical thing like a purchase, or if it was some time that you into something. What do you find to be your most worthwhile investment?
You know what? A very recent one. I can't put my mind towards something that's like a big one, but a very recent one was this, and I didn't think it would actually work out as well as it has, but let me see if I can get him on camera. This thing, it's a label maker for postage.
Right. Is it the Zebra? My wife has a Zebra.
It's the Dymo Label Writer
out the
XL. Yeah, puts out I do about maybe, I don't know, 200 to 300 things a week, labels a week. And before I was printing out
a week,
from the printer. I was printing out, just cutting them out, taping them on, and all that. Between the ink and the paper and the time, this thing it shaves off hours from every single week. And it at first I was like, it's a little expensive. I should just stick to maybe printing. But money wise, it's paid for itself at this point already. And time wise, forget about it. At this point, I'm saving maybe 3 hours a week times 52 weeks in a year.
That's how I feel about this. I feel that way about my Cintiq. You know, when because I did storyboarding in 2003, and there was a good 5 years when I was storyboarding that I still did everything on paper,
Oh yeah.
and I would have to scan and erase and do whiteout and all this other business to like clean it up and deliver it. Yeah, anything we can do to save time.
Oh yeah. Because if
Excuse
anything,
me.
you know, when I was first starting, I always thought, okay, I'll save money. I don't have a lot of money right now, so I'll save money by spending more time. And now it's turned the opposite, where I'm like, I'll spend a little more money to get something that saves me a lot of time. And especially
Yeah,
time, you can always make more money, you know, but time you can never get more time back. That's the one commodity we
that's
don't really have an infinite amount of.
what 3 books. They don't have to be comics. It can just be books. What books have greatly influenced your life?
Oh boy. There's this one that I read when I was a kid called They Cage the Animals at Night. And that really impacted me when I read that. And it was about, and I actually met the author. He was much older when he did this tour, but he went around to a bunch of the schools and did a tour talking about his experiences in an orphanage and in the foster care system. And I think I was around
Yeah,
maybe 8 or 9 when I read the book. And the stuff that goes on in the book and the stuff that he had gone through, and then to see that he was writing about it. It was an autobiography. He was writing about his childhood, and that everything eventually turned out all right for him because he kind of kept true to himself. Still, he didn't let these awful things ruin him and make him become this awful, ugly, nasty person that he easily could have been because he went through so many awful things. And then when he went and he talked to us, and we were all kids, and he brought like the stuffed animal that he had, that he still has, when he was a kid, that gave him strength and consolation when he was a kid. Um, that was pretty impactful for me, especially the time. It was. I think we were the same age. Like when I read the book and how old he is in the book, I think we were like the same age. So to put yourself in that person's shoes and see what they had been through and things like that, it really left an impact on me. In terms of comics, I loved. Let me see. I really loved a lot of Todd McFarlane's run when I was a kid of Spider-Man,
yeah,
and
yeah,
I still remember when reading that issue with when him and Wolverine are hunting down the Wendigo, and there's like a
yeah.
child
I
killer.
have them right here.
Yeah. And those were some of my first ones when I
Yeah,
was a kid, when I started collecting and actually like reading and trying to get arcs and all of that. And to read the way that story went about. And again, it makes me think now, because I read it I was so young. I don't think they would ever make that an all ages kind of story
right.
nowadays. But it
Here
had
we go, right here.
yeah. Oh, yeah. Yep.
Uh,
Perceptions. Yeah. It was
the,
a great little arc. Um, and I love the idea of it, that it felt like it wasn't just kind of cashing on the crossover of having Wolverine in there. It was actually a deeper story to it, and to see that kind of story being told, and it was dark, but it wasn't so dark that it was difficult to read, like it was traumatizing, but it was
right,
deep enough that it really had a lot of it gave a lot of substance to the thing that was going on. And again, it was another kind of that cathartic sense of justice of these guys getting it in the end. I don't want to spoil it for anyone, even though it's been out for forever at this point. But
yeah.
it's if you haven't read it, it's a great story, and that really impacted me when I was a kid reading comics. Between the art and the story itself, it just really was, wow. This is crazy.
I'm gonna go to the fragrance real quick. See if there's any questions. YouTube second stream I watched tonight to freeze. I guess there's a little bit of staggering. That's okay. Marvel needs some real editorial guidance. A guy like Hickman could be better under a legendary writer like Roy Thomas. Yeah. Agreed. I kill the right for Punisher, says Rooster Puncher. Passing from the big two, says Leg Kick. How's the drawing coming?
I'm
Peter
almost
asks Kevlar.
I'm almost done. Almost done. I think this one goes out to Dan for his week that he had with that He-Man book that came out. And here is
you're talking about last my nuts cut off.
No. That's nothing to joke around about.
No.
And hopefully they didn't. Hopefully they didn't cut them all
didn't
up.
Take them out. They did. They cut the pathways.
I was gonna say you got a very extreme version of that. So here is a little bit of this fella right here.
Man, that was fast. That's great. He-Man.
Yeah.
That's great, man.
Let me make sure he's actually
super quick.
There he goes.
Very, very quick. All right, I have one more question from my other questions, and like I do our live stream, it is my form, and it is, what would you like your legacy?
Yeah, I remember you saying that, and that is a good question, and that's why I ask it too.
Yeah,
but I'd like for which is funny because I didn't know that was your last question as well. I've been asking that for
no, it's a good question.
A month or
whatever.
It's a
good question to ask.
Yeah, it's a good one.
Yeah.
But yeah, I think as far as my legacy goes, as far as that kind of thing is creative legacy, I want people to go, okay, well, this was someone who really cared about comics. This was someone who really cared about the readers, the creators, everyone that goes into comics, retailers, all that stuff. Just love the industry and the medium, and was trying to do the best things possible for it to get comics out to as many people as possible. That's what I would like. I can't control that, but that's what I would like. As far as my personal legacy with everything else, just that I'm a good person that cared about the people I love and that mean a lot to me, and that you wake up, you do your best, you fight for them, and sometimes you don't want to fight for yourself. Sometimes you just want to throw in the towel. You have those days where you're like, you know what, screw this. But then you look around and you're like, I got all these people that I care about and I love. I don't want to let down, and you keep going forward. And I know obviously you as a father, as someone, you've got kids too. So I don't have kids, but I mean that I've got people that I love and care about, and I wouldn't want to disappoint and let down too. And that gives you strength, to push through when you're like, man, if it was just, I would give up right now and just run into the woods.
Yeah, I'd take a nap. I would take a nap. Like in my old days, like when I used to blow my deadlines in the old days, I'd feel so overwhelmed. I'm like, if I take a nap, it'll reset everything. And then I'd take a nap and I'm like, fuck, there goes like 4 hours. What did I do? And I'd feel depressed that I blew 4 hours. And it would just be this like downward spiral. So changing gears, let's talk about some current. Have you seen the latest news with YouTube and it's the doing for the day, and how they're wanting you to mark your videos for kids or not for kids?
Oh yeah,
and how they can fine you. They can fine you up to 42 per video if you violate it. And it seems like their guidelines are very vague. Some of them are crystal clear, like mark your video if it is intended for children. Things like the video features animated characters that appeal to children, or things that could appeal to children. And you go, well, are guys like you and I at risk because we make videos about creating comic books, and it can be perceived that comics are for kids? I personally am wondering how to handle it. I might just start. If you are a child under 13, and just every video, like, you know what I mean? Like, because I don't want
Yeah.
to get fined $42,000, and my videos aren't for kids. And when I do my animatics, like I have some plans for some animatics for some like the Love Robot and for Fight. And when I think about them, they're going to be animatics, and are those animatics going to be precision, and are they so loosey goosey that there are like, that's the thing that kind of drives me a little bit nuts about their terms. They said if it features animation that appeals to children, presupposition that animation for children. I'm not going to let my 5-year-old, well, you let my 6-year-old watch heavy metal.
Yep.
Definitely none of my hentai collection that I don't really have, but you know what I'm saying. Like, animation is that's like saying if your videos feature, you know what I mean? Like, animation is so broad that it could mean Mickey Mouse or it could mean Fritz the cat.
Yeah, there's a
So
lot of
I
legal
don't
gray
know.
area, and I think that that's on purpose.
Yeah.
I read somewhere that the $42,000, whatever that is, that was an up to kind of fine based off of a percentage of the revenue that the video makes. So if the video, you make so much money on it, which I don't think
Right.
anybody in comics is making that much money on a video, that a
Right.
percentage would equal that. But no one wants to get fined, even if it's $1. Um, I think that
It's still though for me, because when the vagaries, it leaves you wide open. It
yeah,
leaves you wide open because you don't know what their filter is, and more specifically, I've dealt. I've worked in court. We have an S&P department with standards and practices,
yeah,
and the individuals that I dealt with, and there were like three of them that were like you could talk to, and they're like, oh yeah, no problem, we just flagged it, blah blah blah. But there were two that were like literally, wait a second,
yep,
like, are you serious right now? Like, can you not see past, and they're just stone, and when it comes to terms that are so vague, you you just wonder,
yeah,
I
yeah.
don't know. It's a
Anything I
weird
think.
place to be in.
Yeah, anything I think at this day and age can be completely misconstrued, or you find a loophole in it, anything like that. I've got the channel, I've got the alternate channel, just it's all not intended for kids. Um, I almost view it
Yeah,
as
same here.
yeah, I almost view it as it's similar to like an MPAA thing, or like a Comics Code Authority thing, where it's
Sure.
YouTube kind of covering their own butts, and a lot of it to me is like, you look at a bunch of these videos that are out there that are very popular, and they'll have hundreds of millions of views, and there's no TV show nowadays that's getting hundreds of millions of views. So it's
Right.
almost as if, TV was the babysitter for our generations, and then YouTube now is a babysitter, and now they're under these
Sure.
guidelines, almost like, well, you guys were kind of floating around out there, and it's the Wild West with YouTube, and now it's turning into this kind of tightening of the guidelines. There's all kinds of other things,
And the
obviously, that are
thing
going
that's
into
really
it, but
tough too, I feel bad for a lot of creators, is the fact that the kids content, if you make kids content, they're demonetizing you.
yeah, yeah,
Basically, there's no ad revenue, no super chats, no ability to comment, no end cards. It's really weird.
yeah,
It's
and it
it's
kind of
uh
forces
it's
a
a strange
system.
thing.
It forces a system where you would think, well, why would I put kid-related content on YouTube?
Exactly.
It's kind of
Well, and
like,
I
well,
don't.
yeah, and it kind of, when I see stuff like that, it makes me think, well, what is this? What is this really for? Because that's the end result, is that it's going to dissuade people from putting up kid-friendly stuff. Because they obviously don't want to just sue and fine everybody, and then no one wants to put
Right.
anything on YouTube. So if it's to
Right.
dissuade kid-friendly, or stuff that's aimed at kids, especially the kid definition being under 13 years, there's a huge difference between a 5-year-old, a 6-year-old, and an 11 or a 12-year-old. But the thing is that you
Yeah.
could put still not intended for kids, and it's not an age restricted video, and then a kid can still watch your video. So
That's true. That's true.
it's and it reminds me of all the R-rated movies I saw when I was like 7, 8 years old. I was watching Nightmare on
Amen.
Elm Streets and all kinds of stuff, Predator,
I
all that stuff.
remember in our movie was a Bo Derek movie called 10.
Oh yeah, yeah,
That's the one I remember.
right.
And it had boobies, and I mean, like, this is okay
Yeah,
in
well,
my
one of the
book.
first R-rated movies, I think I was 8 when I saw it, was Terminator. And they've got that part that comes out of nowhere, and it's like, okay. My parents were like, "Where's the remote? Where's the
Very true.
remote?" But it's too late.
Where's the remote? It's too late. Shield his eyes. It's like I remember when I saw Airplane for the first time. I was like a little kid, and like somebody just runs across, shakes their boobs, and run like,
Yeah,
this is awesome.
The weirdest
It
part
was kind of a thing to do in the 80s.
I've got a weird Terminator story actually. I was watching it one time with my cousin later on. We were like maybe 13, 14, and I was sleeping over his house, and I was like, "Oh, what movies you got to watch? Let's watch something." And I'm picking out whatever, and the second movie we have in the stack to watch is Terminator. And when it comes to that part, all of a sudden it's Guys and Dolls. It's some TV version of Guys and Dolls for 2 minutes or something. And I'm like, what
Did the
happened?
parents cut it in
my
there?
dad recorded over.
Aw, man.
I was like, wow.
Be a lady tonight. Sky Masterson, and his cheesecake deals.
Yeah.
Man, I love Guys and Dolls. That's like, I'm not a big musical guy, but I like Frank Sinatra. So that's a good one. That is a very good. So I'm gonna slap your logo up against our faces right now. Alterna Comics, and I gotta say it just like. What are some new things you have coming out? Obviously, we know about Voidwalker. Is a favorite of the dudes, and the book. It looks excellent. What else you guys got coming down that you're excited about?
Well, right now we've got a whole list of printing woes to worry about, but once those are kind of a thing of the past, which they hopefully should be in the very near future, I'm hoping.
Yeah.
We've got
So
the
do I.
Alterna Giants
So do
coming
I.
out. We've got let's see, December and November. Well, November is just about over. It should have been November, but that would have been out. The Mighty Mascots Giant. All the Giants are 80 pages or so, sometimes more than that, and they're $4.99 a piece. We've got, let's see, Gods and Gears is a great series as well. If you guys aren't getting that, Ryan Wynn and Dean Kotz are doing an awesome job on that. It's very epic, old school style superhero adventure story, and man, oh man, we got more Blood Realm on the way. Everybody loves Blood Realm. Midnight Mysteries is wrapping up their second series. Everybody loves that one too. Yeah, we've got all kinds of stuff coming out. We've got 3 graphic novels that are coming out too. Feast or Famine, and that's a compilation of that series that's already been released. Scrimshaw, Tears of the Sonoran Sea, and Eden, which is a lot of fun as well. It's a fantasy sci-fi adventure comic. But yeah, you can go to alternacomics.com and find out more.
Yeah, there we go. So alternacomics.com, and then what was the link being able to order them?
That's alternaaccess.com. And you can also go to alternacomics.com and see on there it says shop or official store. I forget the wording we have now. I think I changed it recently to make it fit a little bit better. Let's see. It says shop. Okay.
Looks like we're having some stream issues, which is really weird because I have the fast stuff. Kevin Ryan, how are you, man? Kevin Ryan's in the house. I wanted to say hello. I the Van Skyver thread and saw your sweet wrench in there, but man, when you got that many people in there, those comments just fly by. I don't even know how he does it. And Kevin Ryan says, I have some Alterna comics right here next to me. That's great.
Awesome.
Break out the rolling so much. There you go. That's my robot. That's all I got for you. Leg kick. That's weird that I'm glitched. I definitely need to talk with my switching. Holy crap, I just read the last issue of the Void Walker miniseries, says Rooster Puncher. Well, man, hopefully you'll be able to share it and we can feature it on the show and let people know what it's all about. Death Metal Hero Luke says, just put the Alterna monster on my previews order today.
Awesome.
Excellent. And then Rooster Puncher just says he sent the cover to you.
Oh, I
so
see it
you
right
should be
now.
getting it.
I see it right now. It's awesome. Jeez. Christian Rossi is just a tremendous talent. He's the artist on Void Walker, and he did art on another book that we have called Trespasser. Yeah, this is great. That's awesome stuff. Boy, oh boy. Every single time. Christian is the kind of artist too that you get stuff from him and you're like, man, this is better than your last stuff. But you say that every single time he sends you something. So it's like, how is that possible? But it is.
No, that's good, man. That's the chief aim of any artist, is really trying to constantly upgrade. At a certain point you're going to plateau. I got something called the Sweet. Like, I'm a huge Art Adams fan. Everybody knows that. The mountains and others. I say I am a huge Art Adams. There's Adams' career. Actually, don't like. I don't like the guy did. I think the people look. I don't like the people. There was like there was a section of his work from like 98 to like 2004 that I'm just not super fond of. But everything up to 98 and everything after.
But I can't tell if that's necessarily 100% his fault or an editorial thing of them wanting him to do something different.
Who knows? But I mean, that's all part of it. Like, we all, like, what do they call it? The awkward stage, growing up as teenagers. Like, you're the little kid, and then like all of a sudden you get zits and like your ears grow before your nose grows, and you talk like that, and But then you're like, I look like Brad Pitt and I have a deep voice. Not me personally, but you know what I'm saying? Like, that sort of ugly duckling thing that you got to go through. And now Art Adams is just killing it.
Yeah, I think we covered in the show you did with me that you look like Billy Zane.
It's a walk-off. It's a walk-off.
There you go.
That's my Billy Zane impersonation. That's all I have. Skits Comics says Alterna has some good titles. I'm gonna throw it up here. Alterna Comics. Got to say it like that. I just have to because it's big and bold. What up, Luis Vives Senior? Junior. Sorry, man. You're not your dad. You're you. How are you, sir? Good to see you. Matt Yaki says I'm going to have to check out some Alterna books. They're good.
Oh yeah.
And I like the smell of newsprint in the morning. So hell yeah. Excellent. What does this say? Let me see. What is Luke saying? Awesome, man. Or is it the digital coloring, Dan? I don't know what the first part of the question is. Of the effects that Art Adams. It is not the digital coloring with Art Adams. It was a proportion thing. Changed people from doing these sort of smaller noses and longer bodies, and he went and he compacted them, and he made these sort of very Romanesque noses with bigger chins and harder eyebrows. And
it kind of reminds me of like a John Romita Jr. type style, but different still, and not in a good different.
Yeah.
And I love Art Adams,
right?
But that part, I agree with you. That little section of time there of Art Adams isn't necessarily a favorite of mine.
But there are guys that I feel like have been affected by digital coloring, like Leg Kick has brought up. For example, There's The Devils and the Details. It's the Art of Todd McFarlane book, and it's a nice history of Todd McFarlane's work. I'm happy to say that the Black Flag cover is in there. I got to plug Black Flag really quick. Black Flag is going to return in 2020, as y'all know, and so I had to say that. But there was a he had drawn newer for the time, and I'm like, oh, is it? And then I turned the page, and it's you know what? I like Todd colored flat. I like color choice. I like print theories on superior. I personally am a fan of something in between it, but my theory is this: when you are reading a comic book, there is a sense of full immersion, and there is full-on reader participation. You, as a reader, you are very much part of the comic, and I'll give a couple of examples. One example is when we read a comic, we have the advantage of when we read a book. The character is the one we idealize in our own mind. So Daredevil sounds a certain way. Peter Parker sounds a certain way. Now we have all kinds of media, so maybe Batman sounds like Kevin Conroy to you, or maybe he sounds like Chris Bale, but to me, he sounds the way he sounds in my head. I found that got ruined for me when I watched Frank Miller's directorial The Spirit. I realized that's what he wants to sound like. That's what he's hoping for when I read it. So anyway, there's that the audience participation. And in regard to newsprint versus the glossy stuff, I feel like the shine of glossy paper reminds you, even on a subliminal level, that you're reading something, because
Well, you got to
shine.
wrestle with the light.
Yeah,
yeah.
There's the shine of the light, whereas newsprint, it absorbs and only reflects color back to you, so you are fully immersed in that book. And that's why, like the Mondo paper, I think that's what it is on Spawn, the early Spawns.
Yeah.
They are kind of the best of both worlds,
Yeah.
where it's a white base, but there's none of that coming back at you. I feel like
Yeah,
you're
I
doing
find
it
too.
right, Peter.
I find too with the coloring,
Yeah.
the flats look great when there's strong inks on there. Like I miss that a lot. I miss that great contrast on the art with really great inks, and then just flats, or maybe it's mostly it's like 2 or 3 shades. It's like a mid-tone, a highlight, a low light, and then there's the inks.
Yeah.
And then it makes everything pop,
Right.
and it makes everything jump off the page. And then especially when you know how to color the background so that the foreground pops, the whole book just moves at a different speed. But when everything is this over technical look to it, it's a very literal sense of artistic interpretation for the art, and especially on a superhero book, when they, we got to get every single shoelace in there, we got to get every single, it kind of becomes, yours is one of the only ones I've seen, honestly. I'm not just trying to blow smoke or anything, but you can have hyper detailed art and there's so much movement still. There's not a lot of people that I find that can do that. It still feels, if the more detailed it gets, the more frozen, the more just it loses its life. But I find that a lot of that with the strong inks and the flat colors, there's so much life to it. But when it's over colored, it just weighs it down.
And it seems like the guys, especially the early mid '80s, Miller, Klaus Janson, Smith, they knew their end result, right? Like if you knew that you were going to place that has a lot of echo, you would adjust you would do a sound check, essentially adjust your instruments for that room, so you had the best experience that you can provide within that room.
Yep.
And I think Klaus Janson inking Frank Miller or Barry Windsor Smith adjusted themselves for the newsprint. And the reason I believe that is, I'll take something like Barry Windsor Smith's Life Death, or even issue 205, right, which is in Life Death trade paperback, and you prints, and the reprints are kind of garish.
Oh yeah, very
The
garish.
line art's really sharp, really sharp, and he would do these things where pink and yellow next to each other, but on the newsprint they had a way of sort of like almost gradienting themselves together to create this nice flesh tone that had like what I'm saying, like the translucent when you looked at it painterly. When you look at it on Baxter paper or even on a digital form, you just go, shit, that's so garish, it's so loud.
Yeah, it looks like someone took a Crayola marker and was like, there. Call it a day.
Yeah. But it's position. Those guys, I'm sure they had no inkling like this will be replayed and watched on phone. I meet them. I don't know.
I think when they do
it's kind of
that though, to eliminate some of the garishness, they should really desaturate a little bit. Maybe lower it, like
dial it back,
10 points or anything like that. Yeah, just to dial it a little bit back, because when it goes to that nicer paper or to the digital screen and it's still those bright colors, because the paper absorbs so much of that ink and kind of dilutes it and warms it up a bit on newsprint, it doesn't do that effect. It all just kind of pops even more. So like this kind of garishness really comes through, but dial it back a little bit. So all you colorists out there with, know what your paper stock is, and then just desaturate a little bit. This way, when it prints, it's not, oh my God, my eyes. Or when it's on the screen, even worse.
Yeah, it's an interesting thing though. It's like we as creators have to wear sort of several hats in a way, because on one hand, we're of the audience experience as far as storytelling, the narrative, staging, and that has nothing to do with technical drawing. Like Mackie and I were talking the other day about the aesthetic qualities of things, and how you can look at sort of the candy coating on something, but as long as the layers are there, right? Then we almost have to sort of be technicians in a way, like for example, Christian is a friend of mine. He goes under the moniker, or used to go under the moniker of Liquid. They colored a lot of the X-Men comics back in the day. I'm sure you remember them. Liquid. He had done this job on Joe Mad, this Ultimates 3, where they were coloring over the pencils, and it came back, that first issue came back muddy, and very upset, so much so that he asked Marvel if he could go up to the printer up in Canada and sit with them and sort of talk with them about numbers and like where he needs to be. Like, he's so hardcore as a colorist that he wanted to know where he needs to be. Like, what do I need to do to make the end result look like this? And they talked about it, like, and it's a weird thing because it's the transposing of things, like things sound different on tape than they do on vinyl, than they do as an MP3 and so
forth. You got to calibrate I always use for all the different things.
You have to understand what your end result's going to be, and one delivery isn't the same. Like, you can't say, hey, I'm going to be on, boom, this is that. Oh, and I'm also on Comixology. You can't give them the same files. You can't, because you have to know, like, and then you're dealing with devices too. So then you want to have a common denominator, right? They're iPad readers, there's phone readers, there's iOS versus Android, there's brands of phones and sweet spot, you know.
Yep.
So anyway, we're getting all techy and fun talking, and we're the hour and 25 mark. I want to
Wow.
thank you so much, Peter, for coming on here and subjecting yourself to the Couchdoodles question on the couch with Fragaboom. So any closing words that you have? Anything? I mean, you imparted some really great advice, and I mean, I'm going to tell you, I liked you from the moment I met you back at Terrificon, but
Oh, I
our
appreciate
time together now, I not only like you, but I have a fond respect for you. Is probably just going to grow daily. So I appreciate you coming on the show.
Thank you, man. That means a lot. Yeah, I instantly liked you as well, and especially knowing that Spencer had a lot of great stuff to say. But I already was familiar with your art, but Spencer had a lot of great stuff to say about you as well, and I was excited, looking forward to meeting you at the show. And yeah, we didn't get to spend a lot of time. I think it was maybe 10
It was a
minutes.
busy
Yeah,
show.
it really was, which is good. But yeah, definitely.
Yeah, it was a good
I
time.
love the chats talking to you here and on the show that we did on my channel. Even though that was goofy and whatnot, but it was great. It was a
That
lot of
was a
fun.
lot of.
Looking
I
forward to
like
more of them.
I like Nader shades we had.
Yeah, yeah.
Good.
These are when I'm being a jackass, I've got these
I
on. That's
love
what I
it.
like to say.
Can you tell people where they can find you and follow you on all the social avenues? Just Alterna Comics, or is there?
Yeah,
I know you have
everything.
your Peter Simeti.
Yeah, everything's at Alterna Comics. Twitter, Facebook, all that stuff. On Twitter, it's at Peter Simeti, but on Instagram, it's at Peter Simeti Art. I'm on
Yeah,
there too. I usually just I only really tend to post stuff like this. I'll probably post this on there too. And if anybody wants this, let me know if you
awesome.
guys are interested.
I
Whatever.
want it. I
Reach.
want it. I want it.
All right.
I
Okay.
want it.
There you
I
go.
want it.
It's already taken. Sorry, guys.
I want it. He said, if any of us want it, I'm here. I'm quick on the draw right there. Yeah,
But it's been
gotta go
great
up.
being on the show. I'm happy to have you on my channel anytime too. I'd love to have you on as
Thanks,
well.
man.
I want to do a philosophy and comics kind of show of
Oh
having the right
man, I
kind
got
of headspace to
tons.
get into comics. Yeah, I love the stuff that you've said on your channel. We're both gigantic Bruce Lee fans as well. I've got the Tao of Jeet Kune Do and stuff like
Yep.
that, and he's one of my heroes.
I
He's meant a
have
lot to me over my life.
Jeet Kune Do. I have Dao Jeet Kune Do tattooed on my body.
What was that last part
But
you skipped? Where is it
yeah,
tattooed?
no, having no way as way, having no limitation as limitation is tattooed on my body. I'm not gonna
Nice.
say where, but yeah, it's on my stomach. It's instead of Thug Life, that's what it says. But yeah, I am such a fan of Bruce Lee's philosophy. I love everything about him, but especially his philosophy stuff. Well, we are coming down to an hour and a half. I want to thank you so much, Peter, for joining us. We are going to close this stream out. I'm going to go into the Frega Boombox one last time to see if anybody has any questions. It usually takes about 20, 30 seconds for them to catch up because we have a slight. If you guys have any questions, now is the time. Let's see what Matt Yackey says. I have always colored digital, but there are different approaches for each style of artist works that works better than others. Is Dan's art or classic art? Wondering if there is a difference between the two. Late Kick says, thank you, Peter. Kevlar. Kevin Ryan says, I love this techie talk. You learn to do stuff. Absolutely. Slick Rick says, want to see Frega sorting out his internet connection problem soon. Was fine before a few days ago. Don't know what happened. I don't know either, Slick Rick. I actually ponied up some more cash to get the faster internet. It might just be the streaming part, because last night. Here's the other thing: we are running Switcher right now, and there hasn't which has been great.
Yeah, you were good
He
on my
said it worked great last.
StreamYard, so that's
Yeah, StreamYard seems to be more robust for chats. So maybe what I need to do is do StreamYard for chatting and do Switcher for the regular stuff. Stan ordered a Frigaboom shirt. We'll probably pick up some pens as well. I'm a pen whore. That's right, guys. If you want to check out some things in the description, you can find some shirts and pens and green screens and books that I enjoy. Jet Pens is awesome. Try a Wi-Fi router in your studio. I'm looking into it. There was something that my tech who came in and worked my system out referred to me something called an Orbi. The Orbi is $700, but it's supposed to make my connection as strong as if you were sitting next to a router plugged in with an Ethernet. That's what the Orbi does. Up to 500 or $1,000. I need you links and buy some affiliated marketing, so because baby needs shoes, you know. Is the place. Hells yeah. Captain Hilt says thank you, Peter and Dan. Wi-Fi will always give you issues, brother. Yeah, the cams need to be hardwired, I think, says Matt Yackey. Unfortunately, this whole thing is a mobile setup, so it'll be kind of tough to hardwire until we get the show super legit, which is down the line. I wanted to thank you guys for watching too, because we are only 500 hours away from our goal. We're aiming for that 4,000. We're aiming for that 4,000, and we are 500 away. We might even hit it before December 1st. My goal was January 1st, but we may hit it before December 1st. I wanted to thank you. Please make sure you comment, like, go through the videos. Go check out Peter's video. If you watch only one, watch Fame from yesterday. We had a really good time. Some really fun chuckles. And it was good.
Yeah, find out, guys. Find out what Dan thinks about pineapple on pizza. It might surprise you guys. That's become a staple of the question on the show.
Yeah, and find out whether or not I feel like ketchup is a legit something to put on your eggs or not.
Yeah, who knows? We'll see.
What's my favorite reel? Who's my favorite superhero? What comics I'm into? And that's it. But you guys, thank you so much. We've had a wonderful guest with Peter and Alterna Comics. I have to say it like that because it's so massive. I got to show you what it looks like with that sweet over. We're gonna go out with a comics logo and the Frigaboom song. We have the Alterna Comics logo, and we will see you guys. So thank you very much for watching Couch with your host Frigaboom Simeti. We will see you on the next. Thank you very much.
Thanks a lot, everybody.
DMC is the place to be. Friggin' boom!